Hello to everybody out there. This is I think this is our second one on the Spanish channel. But I thought I'd do a live broadcast. One of the things I want to say is a few people have asked about when we're next meeting up with the Andres. The answer is we'll be trying to do a live event over at his office on Saturday. I'm going to confirm a time later on in the week. But if you're interested, private message me and I'll update you when that event actually happens. But one of the things I want to talk about today is what do you do in Spain that's different to the UK? For me, I find that the pace of life in Spain is a bit more laid back. So, although you often work harder, it's not as condensed and as stressed. For example, when I have work coming even out of the UK, um, the main finishing time is Friday by 5 p.m. So, as long as the work's done by Friday, it's pretty much as and when it suits me. So, what I like to do in the morning is get up, have my coffee, spend a bit of time with my wife, maybe see the kids off to school if I'm up early enough. We'll do the shopping on a Monday and generally do the pottering around stuff. Then I'll start work, do about 4 hours of work. Then we'll go out for tea and coffee, tea or coffee, not both. And then maybe do a bit before the kids get home from school, maybe go along the beach, or do stuff as a couple, you know. And then in the evenings, now the weather's starting to clear up, except for today. We seem to have had a bit of a storm come in today, so we got absolutely soaked earlier when we were out and about. But over the weekend, for example, we were down on the beach. We took the kids for a bit of uh, well, snorkeling, attempted snorkeling because the water was ice cold, but we still enjoyed it. The kids were like buried under the sand and splashing around and getting into the environment. But because we have a lot of sports facilities in the area as well, we'll sometimes go and play football. Me and Uber will head over to the little basketball court. It's about the size of a full size five-a-side football pitch, which has got two basketball courts, sort of going the opposite way to the football pitch. So we'll play football in there. He doesn't like basketball. Sorry, he loves basketball, but doesn't like football. So we'll spend a bit of time in there. And I think all in all, I get to spend a lot more time with my family than I do in the UK. When I'm in the UK, due to the type of work I do, you've got to be somewhere for 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, that somewhere has been as far as Edinburgh from Worcester, Plymouth, Portsmouth, Bristol, all over the place. And the thing is, a lot of these contracts are built around the fact that they go, oh, but you'd have to travel to work. Yes, I would, but it's not normally 3 hours drive away. They try not to pay for that time. So that's time they're stealing from your family life. That's one of the things I dislike about the industry I work in is the way they allow people to get their life sucked away from them when they promote ethically that they have these family friendly hours and policy this and policy that, but often you're away from home for long periods of time. But even if you are home, when you get home at 5 p.m. or whatever, it's often grey, rainy. You don't get the same sort of weather. So, I mean, it's a bit unfair on the UK to bash it a bit for that, but I would say at the same time, when I go to the basketball court net here, it's completely free. In the UK, you pay for a lot of these facilities now. A lot of the green spaces have been sold off. A lot of the school fields have been sold off. Sports centers becoming privatized changed a lot of the fitness stuff for people, because instead of going, oh well, I've got £3 in my pocket, we'll go swimming, it's only become, oh, you got to have a 18-month subscription to our sports center, but you only want to go for the day. You only want to go for just for the hour because you're feeling like, you know what, it's Friday, let's go for a swim or something. I think those things are where these things are different in the two countries. That you find that in Spain, you may be working as hard, sometimes harder, and you find that the work spread out often over the day, because the Spanish have this long afternoon lunch. Normally starts about 2 o'clock, and then people come back about 5. But at the same time, they go and do their other stuff during that time. It's not like they're just going to go and find a tree to sleep under. It's a case of they'll go and have a coffee with friends, shopping, and all the other stuff, before the kids get home from school. Is that a good thing? I think so. I do think they've got it set up some ways in the right way. The other way is when they don't go back to work after when they're supposed to. They leave it to and don't bother coming back. That's the other downside. When you're trying to get stuff done and people simply don't go to work. Um, but I do think in the UK we work too hard. We work too hard and for too little, because too much now is privatized. Too much is, um, the balance between quality of life and its costs aren't in sync. I find that a lot of the benefit stuff in the UK has gone too far with giving away too much. Yet, if you're working, it's the opposite. You seem to be paying for a lot more than you should do, um, and that's my view on it. And I do think that in Spain, you're sitting a bit more relaxed here. You have the sunshine, even if you're not doing much. The sunshine makes a lot of difference. You're more likely to go out for walking. Also find that the community here is a bit more friendly. In the UK, from where my parents live, it used to be a, what would you call it? A family, cul-de-sac, but now it's all student houses tied in with Worcester University. Um, the, the university is basically forced out about 90% of the people that live there, due to the problems that the students have brought to the area. Nobody wants to live there anymore, um, which is sad. It's a sad thing where that's acceptable. It's socially acceptable because somebody's making money on it. The money takes priority over family life. Here in Spain, I don't really see that as a problem. Although we get the tourists, you find that a lot of the guys here that are here all year round will disappear during the summer months. They head back into Madrid or wherever, where it's sort of like their families and whatever are coming to La Mata while they are going to Madrid to escape all the busy holiday period. But generally, I find life in Spain is a lot more relaxed. It's a lot more, um, less time sensitive. I think that's a key element. Less time sensitive. In the UK, we're often watching the clock because everybody focuses on the hours worked, etc. Spain is not really an issue. I don't really come across that anywhere. Even when I was processing my, residencia, when I went in there and they turned around and said, "Oh, I've got an appointment today." He says, "Oh, it's not in the book." I says, "Yeah, but I booked it. I booked it online, etc." They said, "Oh, don't worry." I said, "But I'm going to the UK tomorrow." She says, "Oh, don't worry about it. Come back. Do it when you come back." Would you think that would happen in the UK? I don't think so. I think there would, it'd be a case of, well, it's not in the book, so you couldn't have booked it, blah, blah, blah. But in Spain, it's more a case of, don't worry about it. Do it next time you're in. Nobody seems in a rush. Nobody has that sense of urgency. It's it's a lot more civilized. It's relaxed. Things still get done. Things still get processed. Things still move on. But the one thing that doesn't happen is this constant push for people to do things. Like in the UK with this, like the SORN, statutory notification for a vehicle. Um, Weird. And then suddenly people have to suddenly abide by this new bit of paper just to say your vehicle's not sat on the road. At the same time, they got the power to move it, crush it, and whatever already. But with that, it's another little bit of stealth tax because if you forget to fill it in, then they can still take your car, but they can fine you as well, just for the sake of it. In Spain, I don't really see vehicles around that haven't got their documents, but I also see that people don't spend as much on their cars. I see a lot of old vehicles. I've seen an old Sierra that was what? It's not the what would that be? That'd be the 90s, and it still looks like it's brand new. And it's not because they're taking immense care of it or whatever. It's just the fact that A, people seem to buy a car and use it as a car, not a consumer object. But B, they don't seem to rust as much here. I mean, the old Volkswagen van we have, it's got a few rust spots on it, but it's not deteriorating at a rapid rate. I suppose it's because of the dry air. It's a lot drier here. We get a bit of rain like today, but the majority of the time, there's no rain whatsoever. So there's not enough moisture in the air to deteriorate the vehicles at the same rate that you would get in the UK. But like I say, I do think people don't buy into the consumerism at the same level. Well, certainly not with cars, and they don't maintain them as much. But then again, they're not forced to maintain them as much. The MOT in the UK has got a bit excessive. There's a friend of mine, he's got a Volkswagen Golf, and he has this, every time he has MOT, it has this recommendation flag that there's something that could be a problem with the vehicle. It's actually part of the car and designed by Volkswagen. It's actually the design on it, but the MOT stipulates XYZ. So as such, it's a recommendation. It's changed. It's a physical part of the vehicle. And I do think that's the problem. In the UK, there's industries built on industries of creating an industry. You know, it's like health and safety has developed from a case of making people responsible to now you have to teach people how to make a cup of tea. Um, I think it's gone too far. And I do think in Spain, there is stuff I think, oh, they shouldn't be doing that. But at the same time, it's not forced in the same way. And I think the UK we do force things too much, but it's often because there's an industry to be generated out of it. It's not done. It starts off with the right intentions, but it seems to go too far at some point, and it does that in so many ways. Um, but that's why I like Spain. It's relaxed. I don't have this headache. I don't need a construction industry scheme card just to go on a construction site or even on a maintenance site, which isn't even construction. There's people working in there on, like a supermarket or whatever. I'm there to look at an air conditioning unit. Oh, you've got to have this card. Why? I'm not actually the only thing that it matters is if I know how to use the equipment, Do I understand the equipment? Can I maintain it? Can I service it? Am I suitably qualified to work on it? Because the construction industry cards, that doesn't do anything with that. All that says is I'm safe to work on things like scaffolding and nonsense. I mean, I had to just sit and do the test on that as well. And 90% of it is completely irrelevant to my industry, but they still get money out of it for you. You've still got to buy the book to um, get prepared for the exam and still got to pay for the exam as well. All these little things add up over time. And that's what I'm saying. I do think those things are what makes life in UK frustrating sometimes. It's all the excess stacked up, all these little bits of paper, all these little people trying to make a living off the back of other people that actually go out to work and actually work for a living. Um, and I do think that in Spain, they do have their own little things. I mean, I was reading today about the fact that it's illegal to sell an animal between two people without specific documentation, etc. Um, but at the same time, I do find that just generally it's more relaxed. A lot of the stuff doesn't get pushed on you in the way it does in the UK. It's a lot more chilled out. And I do think it's a good place to retire. I do think it's a good place to live. I do think that the family environment is good here. And some people complain that they pay more taxes here, but I'll be honest with you, the facilities are much, much better than I was getting in Worcester for the family. The quality of life is better. The access to facilities is much bigger. Um, there's very little downside. So I don't mind paying extra taxes as long as I see it. I just don't want to be buying a politician's lunch or something with it. I want to actually be used for what it was intended for, which is to improve the environment we live in, improve society, and for the benefit of all. This is just a short broadcast just to see. So we've got a couple of people on. Um, Anybody, if there's a live chat on the right hand side, you can say hi if you want, even if it's just hi, just so I know you're there. Because one of the things I want to do with these live chats is sort of expand them out. And we're going to start off with just day to day stuff, but I want to try and get some local business people on and try and get more people involved. So we can cover more topics, but also we can get into more interesting things relating to problems like property investments and the pitfalls and the plus sides, what it's like to live in Spain, what's it like to run a business here, all those types of things that are of general interest to everybody. Um, but this is just a taster. This is a bit of a test. And if you want to show on a specific topic, stick it in the comments. Now I'm going to cut this one off early today because, like I said, this was just a test run. But put what you would like to hear in the comments. Also, please remember this Saturday we'll have a live chat with Anders. As long as we can get the internet going up at his place, that'll be going live on Saturday. So if you've got stuff related to immigration, please send us some requests before the event, because then we can actually go over some of this stuff. Because the thing is, Anders doesn't carry around all the documentation on him. He's just got access to it all. He does it for a living. But some of the topics people bring up are because they're quite difficult things in relation to how people are set up or how people are processed, which is why you're here asking questions in the first place. So please get in touch on our contact page on the expat services. That's one word, put the two together, expatservices.es. And thank you for joining us. My Mac's frozen. Try. This is funny. The Mac's actually frozen out, and I can't get to the screen at the back.